Hey guys, so this video is basically for anyone who's still using an iPhone 5S. As a matter of fact, the video I'm making right now is being taped on my iPhone 5S with the original 16 gigs memory. So basically, we're going to be talking about the iOS 10 and the new iOS 11. So I did in fact go through with the update, and I gotta tell you, I'm pissed. I am pissed with the update. As a matter of fact, you could see right here, I have a new iPhone in box. This is an iPhone SE. So it's basically running the same internal processor and RAM as the iPhone 6S. So it's a much more powerful phone, but it's still in box. I'm still not even using it at this point. But basically what it's going to come down to is the fact that iOS 11 is a massive waste of resources on your phone. So I actually made a list here, because I have so many things to say and I'm so kind of disappointed in iOS 11 that, I just had to organize my thoughts. So, let's just talk about some of the good stuff. So I did notice that it enabled me to kind of open up a few gigs of memory. I took a screenshot here, as you could tell, before my update. So you could see I'm running iOS 10.3.3, and I have an available use of 3.2 gigs out of 12.28. Note that this is a 16 gig memory version. Right after the update, I have another picture here for you. You could see that with iOS 11, now my available memory went up to 16 gigs, and I now have 5.77 gigabytes of free space. So it looks like the update itself did free up some memory. So that's pretty great. I thought actually that was the best part, and it's pretty much downhill from there. So what is pretty bad? So in terms of RAM, I noticed my phone is substantially slower. So there's an app you can get. The app I use is AIDA64. I'm going to spell it. It's AIDA64. You can get it for free in the App Store. I'm going to put a picture here of it for you guys. But basically, there is a process in the app, and it's free, that will tell you the available amount of RAM you have and the available amount of RAM you're not using. So previous to the update, when I closed all my tasks on my iPhone, I had at least 700 megabytes of free RAM. So, more than half of the phone's available 1 gig was available for use. And guess what? Right after the update, that same app, even though I refreshed it, I closed all the tasks, basically cannot get more than 100 megabytes of RAM. So that means my phone itself, just with iOS 10, just to keep the system running, basically using 90% of my phone's available RAM. And the RAM is very important for multitasking, opening multiple tasks. If you have multiple applications open, if you want to try opening up another one, guess what? Sometimes it'll just shut down instantly on you, or a web page could just go and refresh. So that's kind of the bad stuff. Obviously, whenever your phone is using a lot of resources at all times, you have really bad negative effects to your battery life. So yes, my battery life is now substantially worse. And I've noticed, and this I can't explain, I've noticed that it charges slower. So before I used to charge it about 1 minute, was about 1%, and now it's substantially slower, maybe about 1% for 2 to 3 minutes. So much slower charge rate. Now that could be possible because the phone's resources are being used more than you would expect. But either way, so, maybe it was just my phone, you could say to yourself. But you still got to upgrade. Well, guess what? I checked my buddy's iPhone 7, and his RAM is basically being used about 50% of the available RAM as well. Now, of course, the iPhone 7s have more. Some have 2, some have 3 gigabytes of RAM. But either way, he's running at about 750 megabytes of RAM used just with no tasks running. To me, that's pretty much a disaster. What I'm considering doing at this point is either, yes, activating my iPhone SE, or maybe getting a newer iPhone 8, which to me, phones really are not a big deal. I just care about cost and effectiveness over time. But in reality, currently the iOS 11 is a good system. It's pretty fluid when your phone is working. Now, he told me with the iPhone 7 that he hasn't noticed any issues, but I'm pretty sure he just wasn't multitasking as much as he was supposed to be, well, as normal iPhone users are. But either way, I would say there's more negatives with the iOS 11 than there are positives, and what I'm going to be trying to do at this time is to restore back to an earlier save state. So basically, you could always go back to an earlier version of iOS when you hook it up to your computer. That's why I have my MacBook Air here, and later on I'm going to be connecting it. I'm going to try to see if I can revert back to iOS 11, and I'll see if my RAM ability, or rather let's say usage, will change. And I hope that it does, because based on this current situation, I don't recommend upgrading to iOS 11 for anyone that doesn't at least have 2 gigs of RAM. Now that would be basically people with phones older than a 6S. So if you don't have a 6S or up, don't upgrade to iOS 11. That's my word of advice. And if you guys did, I'm curious to kind of know your feedback. Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll see if we can get a conversation going on this subject matter. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time.